Hideo?
With the news of the new director's cut, extended cut, I guess, of Death Stranding coming out later this year, I'll admit, at first, I just wasn't expecting something like this at all. Especially so soon after its initial release, and after seeing the trailer, I'm honestly not sure about it. It seemingly adds some new items for combat and delivery, things like a mounted machine gun, which feels really counterproductive to the game's original message and gameplay, if I'm honest, and a racing minigame, which would feel completely out of place if it wasn't in a Kojima game. Most importantly, some new story missions. Although how expansive these missions will end up being, that's up for speculation. They could be expanded story and woven into the main game story like Persona 5 Royal did. Or they could be nothing more than side missions similar to getting that guy's tools, a short conversation, go to a location, listen to some dialogue, then come back, mission done. And I really hope that's not the case. Now, had they been charging full price for everyone, as in you need to buy the new expanded cut of the game to get this content, it would have been outrageous. But as Kojima mentioned earlier, it will be available to buy on the store digitally as an add-on for $10, which is mostly reasonable. It really depends on how much new content is in the story missions, because £10 or $10 for some equipment and a racing minigame is still a bit steep and doesn't really encourage someone to replay the game again. I honestly thought Death Stranding was one of those games that was released, finished, and never touched again, as they probably started working on a sequel by now. I doubt there'll be any future content after this, but the idea of additional content gave me some ideas of what was possible with Death Stranding as a base template. You see, the world is there, the environment, the traversal, the traversing, the systems in place, it's all there. But I think, many will agree outside the main story area missions, it's pretty barren. It's a beautifully rendered world, but it begs for more exploration, yet offers no reasons for it. The idea of adding content to the world gave me some ideas, or at least some wishes of what I'd hoped to see when it first released, as a game, when I first saw the trailers of Death Stranding. When the trailers first hit, we got more info that this world would be about traversal. It's a big open world, and my mind just exploded with all these ideas. I saw Sam Bridges pulling a broken nail from his foot in the trailer. So I thought, it's like an infection mechanic. You walk too long, you injure your feet, you have to sit down and use some tools to kill yourself, much kind of like a Metal Gear Solid 3 when you had to heal your wounds, in the menus and stuff. I thought that would be part of the systems. Managing your health and food and water intake as you travel. This is all the things I imagined watching these trailers. Climbing mountains and crossing these vast fields, and it all kind of just gave me this open world traveling vibe. I imagine gathering supplies on the move, maybe even some makeshift building, building some cover, like some tent or something to last out different environment weather effects, like suddenly be a snowstorm, you gotta get inside your tent to keep your temperature up. Timefall randomly happens all over the world. It's not just scripted events or scripted zones. Obviously none of these mechanics really appeared in the game. It was quite a linear experience with very limited options for travel. You do travel, you just don't really do much whilst doing it. Whilst traversal has its fun moments, I wouldn't call it intensive. In fact, the only way you'd ever get an infected foot is if you completely ignored every instinct and generous footwear offering the game has. But with the idea of new content comes, ideas. What if Death Stranding wasn't one and done? What if it's a game with content that could keep people coming back for years? The way, say, games like Minecraft do. It's all there, the foundations, the traversal, the world. It's begging to be expanded upon. And now that it's possible, what could we see? So what are these ideas? Well, just, off the top of my head, let's start with some post-game content. The best place to add new content is after the game's conclusion, when you skip back. Sam wants to live off the grid, have some place to go back to when this is all said and done. I can't imagine he lives in the city or sleeps just in a field out in the open, especially with the weather and stuff. This is where new content would come in. Add a build option outside of the underground bunker. Let players build a home, prefab walls, floors, stuff like that. Kind of like Fallout 4's kind of bad building mechanic, but you get the idea. Give them a bunch of tools that they can use to build up the house whichever way they want, and let them build anywhere in the world, because the game's finished by then, so there's no reason not to let them do this. And it's not exactly law breaking that Sam could build himself a small home. People have to have done that in the world anyway. And through deliveries or even just exploration of the map, give blueprints which will allow Sam to build more items. It would encourage exploration, things like wind turbine or sealed vegetable gardens and other necessities. Give him a food and water mechanic, so he has to, or a survival mode where he can manage these things. You know, it really encouraged the players to explore and build up. Give them new landmarks and old buildings. Give players a reason to climb that mountain again. Even if it's just a curiosity. There might be some useful stuff up there, like a crate of supplies you can use to build. You know, that's a few hours of self-made storytelling gameplay right there. Does he make it up the mountain? Does he get the supplies back down the mountain? How do you do that? Now, how possible this next lot is, I don't really know, but it's fun to imagine. How about building upon the world by adding day and night cycles and dynamic timefall that could happen anywhere? It would give a reason to actually track the weather on your device, because most of the time it just appeared in one area. It was just like 30 minutes, you know, of timefall in this one spot, and that was it. You know, the idea that you can run into BTs anywhere and any time, it'd really affect, you know, where you build, and, you know, maybe you have some like BT defenses around your building to make sure you don't get attacked, stuff like that. As I said, this is speculative because I don't know if the game's engine will allow these extra additions, but, you know, any addition is welcome. Back to the more obvious additions, so player tents, fire pits, things that make travel more enjoyable and give a sense of longevity, which would be, you know, massively aided by a day and night cycle, showing the passage of time as you travel. I know time's a bit messed up in this world, but it still feels too short of a journey for what, you know, between the cities. Let players sit under the stars, watching the fire, hoping it doesn't rain. Let them make their own little stories up, you know, where they just travel wherever they want. There's no like super linear story or reason to it, they just want to. It's like the most thing I enjoyed about Red Dead 2's online mode was just journeying. I set myself out, you know, on travels, camping, preparing food. People love that style of gameplay, love, you know, Death Stranding. They just want more of this kind of stuff. They're looking for that extra catharsis that comes from the journey, giving yourself little goals which you can, you know, fulfill yourself. Give the player more landmarks, interesting photo opportunities, more explorable areas that are just fun to find your way around and traverse. Make it a bit more challenging, cave systems, that kind of thing. Find hidden collectibles. Which brings us to the most ambitious idea yet, something I thought up which might work, but I honestly don't know if they could implement it, but I think it's really true to the core values of the game. I think it really fits with what the game was going for, way more than even like the story content. Have updates every few months where they add things to the map, be it landmarks, explorable ruins, maybe some underground structures, new blueprints and lore files, and then don't tell anyone what's actually included in the update. Let the community explore and find it out for themselves. Let them talk about it on forums and make videos helping each other out, showing other players where these new items have dropped and what's new in the world. Don't tell them anything. Let them leave game signs in the world, pointing out places that they can go. Let them work together to build across dangerous mountains that isn't so structured. Let them be creative. Just give them a hard path and then see what players do. See how they help each other. You know, so other players can get access to areas they wouldn't be able to reach otherwise. Let the community come together every update and help each other and explore together. This, I feel, truly fulfills the meaning of the game, and it will be an evolving world of cooperation and excitement of discovery together. But of course, this is all just ideas. Death Stranding update is none of these things. It's just an update with some extended, you know, items and a mini game and maybe some story content. But this update does open the door to more of these kind of opportunities. You know, no matter how small the chance, these ideas in some form could make their way into the game, or at least I hope so, unless it's just the expanded cut is just basically finished. That's it. That's the last of the game. But, you know, as for what it is currently, the low price tag makes it a small offering for equipment and side content with the possibility of larger story content. It makes it worth it, at least for most people, and newcomers getting new content with the game will always be a plus. As for how much content this update will come with, the only way to find out is to get it upon release. Anyway, that's all I really want to say on the subject. I just thought these were some interesting ideas to share. Obviously, I don't think they're ever going to actually come to fruition, but maybe, you know, maybe Death Stranding too. Maybe they can build on it. Anyway, keep on keeping on.